Right. Brian Powell of I Run Far here with Ian Sharman and Nick Clark before the Leadville 100. How are you guys doing?
Good, yeah.
I'd say you're having a busy summer, but you two race all the damn time anyway.
It's less busy than normal. I've been doing one race a month, and I'm doing nothing in between, so it feels like I'm kind of lounging around a lot.
When you did the Western States Hard Rock Up, was it a 2-week year? Is it the 3 weeks?
13 days. 13 days.
Yeah.
Baker's dozen.
So you have even more time this year.
Oh no, 4 weeks is luxurious, yeah.
It must feel easy when it's something like Leadville after it instead of Hard Rock, though.
A nice easy race like that.
Exactly, yeah.
Ask them that about sometime on the coming down
I
Oak
will.
Pass the second
When
time.
I pass him on Oak Pass or something, yeah, I'll ask him.
Pass them on Oak Pass.
Yeah, why not?
On the climber to decide. Inbound, outbound.
Who knows? Who knows at this point?
Well, you guys are taking part in the Grand Slam, officially and unofficially this year, right? You had a pretty good race at Western States.
Yeah, that started off nicely, but we've been pretty close in both
Yeah.
the races so far. So I'm thinking it's going to go all down to Wasatch. I think this one is not going to be a huge difference, probably. And although Nick may want to beat me by 2 hours, but I think it's going to be Wasatch because that's the one that you can make the biggest mistakes, and it's the hardest, the most time out there. So I think that's the one that counts the most.
Would you agree with that, Clarky?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Wasatch is the course which takes the longest. You know, it's a 20-hour course, 19, 20, 21-hour course, versus 14,
optimistic.
15, 16
Yeah,
at the other
yeah.
three. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how tomorrow goes.
So 16. So you're thinking sub 16 or 16 and change, or
For tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, nah. Whatever the clock says at the finish. You just want to run a sensible race, and on fresh legs, I'd like to think that 16 something would be doable. That would have been my time last year on the regular length course. So we'll see. Yeah, maybe 16 something for me, 18 something for Ian.
I think it's really difficult to tell because at the moment our legs feel great, I'm sure, but they felt like that before Vermont and they weren't. 3 weeks recovery wasn't much there, and 4 weeks is better, but now we've done 200 miles already. So I'm thinking that it's probably going to feel great for 30 miles, and then who knows after that.
So even for you guys, everybody, you're the top of the top, and super strong, and you do race a lot anyway. But even for you guys, there is a cumulative effect across the hundreds.
Well, we'll find out. It certainly was at Vermont, but I've heard that a lot of the Grand Slammers get stronger through the 4 races, so I'm kind of hoping that's the case because I don't want to have as bad a day as at Vermont. That wasn't fun.
So what happened at Vermont? Obviously, Western States was hot for everybody. You suffer. You made it through. Vermont, walk us through that.
It's pretty hot as well. It was hot and humid. It had been raining a lot in the few weeks before. But I think it was more just I certainly could. I think Nick said the same when we talked about the legs just being kind of more tired than we expected. Just not having the kind of speed we'd expect, not being able to run as well as we wanted to later on.
So
The times weren't bad.
Like what was?
We were both just under 16 hours, but it was just feeling a lot worse than it should have for that kind of run.
Yeah, mile 30 felt like mile 70 at Western States.
Yeah.
Didn't deteriorate too badly from there, but it was just kind of
It's just a
grinding
longer
from
amount of pain
mile
than normal.
30.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a little better tomorrow. That extra week definitely helps. So we shall see.
You guys both seem like pretty fierce competitors. No matter what the race, we could probably have a beer mile right here, and you'd probably throw down.
Oh, he'd destroy me in that.
Well, that's true, but going to the Grand Slam, do you guys, mete out your effort over the races, or you just on the day go for it and then deal with the consequences?
So you kind of got to go for it. I think that's what we've done the first two. And I don't think if you hold back a bit, it's going to make a big difference in terms of your recovery being better for the next one.
Right.
So, no, I think you race 4 races.
Yeah, for sure.
But you may be a little bit more conservative in how you approach it, but you still give it your all.
So how, what would that difference in approach be? Would it be going out hard and?
Well, I never tend to go out hard anyway.
Yeah.
I like to evenly pace it. It just means that I'm trying to allow for maybe a bit more deterioration than normal.
Yeah, last year at Leadville, things got off to a pretty quick start. I think we were 3:05 through the Fitch Hatchery, which is 2 or 3 minutes ahead of course record pace.
I don't see you there that time.
Well, there were a few eager beavers last year. I think Tony, was the one who was pushing the pace. I think he would agree with me on that. So I expect it to be a much more kind of mellow pace this year, hopefully. Certainly, if it is kind of like last year, then I will expect myself to hang back a bit and just try and be a little bit more sensible about the pacing. So, you know, I think the 2 races prior to this kind of help you be a little bit more sensible about the pacing.
Yeah.
So.
Up at the front of the race this year at Leadville, obviously you guys are coming with a little tired legs, so people are sort of thinking about jerk, ice, and sand sort of going up the front. What do you think that race looks like?
Oh, yeah, you know,
They'll go out harder than us, I'm sure.
They'll beat each other up, and Ian and I will cruise
it up
by
later.
going around the lake, you know,
I like
last
that.
10 miles.
Yeah.
And it'll be Ian and I battling it out for gold.
1-2.
Yeah.
I like that.
We'll put 2 Brits on the top of the podium, and we'll let them scrap it out for 3rd.
So which of those 3 are you going to pass first?
I personally think that Mike Aish and Scott Jurek are going out so much for the win, maybe, that it might be a first or not last.
Nah, Mike just wants to get a finish.
Really?
You know,
Okay.
he learned his lesson last year.
I have no idea. I have no idea, really. Yeah.
Right, you know, Ryan always seems to pace himself quite well. So, you know, like I said, I don't expect the pace to be too furious off the front this year, just because you got a lot of wise heads in there. You know, Scott's obviously been doing this for years, and like I said, Ryan is a pretty wise customer when it comes to running these things. So maybe it'll be Mike off the front. Who knows? Well,
Or it could be someone who ends up not even being anywhere near.
Yeah.
Because there's 1,000 people running. There's bound to be some people who go out really hard for a half marathon at least.
Yeah. So, Ian, you've not run this race before.
No.
You're going to be going down the boulevard, and there's going to be like 5 miles in or 3 miles in. There's going to be like 50 people ahead of you. Does that happen to like comrades? Does other people?
Comrades, I'd be in like 300th place in the first 10 or 20k, but know that some of those guys aren't even aiming on finishing because there's spot prizes anyway for different points on the course. But mainly just some of them go off and do like a 30-minute 10k. There's nothing I can do about that anyway, even if I wanted to. So, you know, I start off running going, oh, this is the pace I want to be going. Why is everyone zooming past me? But, you know, you do your own race. It's after you get some finishes where it works like that, you just ignore people who zoom off.
Yeah. So far in the Grand Slam, it's kind of been a little counterintuitive, like, because Nick, you've had some really good Western states the last couple of years, and Ian, you took that one. A lot of people probably would have picked Ian for the top spot at Vermont.
I think this works in my favour because also you just said Leadville and Wasatch. Here's one. So if
Leadville, I'd actually.
Really? Okay. Well,
I mean, he's a little more altitude acclimated, but not.
Leadville's a toss-up, huh?
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And Wasatch should be his because he's
Wasatch
the
should
mountain
be.
guy and I'm the sea level guy. So I think that means I'll win Wasatch.
Maybe you win Wasatch, but I win the Grand Slam because I beat you so handily tomorrow. Maybe that's how it plays out, Ian. I don't know.
I like this kind of talk. Especially because I can show you this video after.
I'm prefacing it all with maybes, you know, hypotheticals.
To be honest, my first priority is just to make sure I don't not finish. There's 2 hard races left. I've never done this many hundreds close together, so even if things go horribly wrong, I'm finishing races unless I break my leg. But after that, then it's the competitive side of things. In Vermont, I was starting to think, is this going to go really downhill? Am I going to be walking it in for 30 miles? But luckily, it didn't end up like that.
Did you do anything to sort of save yourself, or did it just come around?
Just trying to focus on the eating, taking it a little bit easier when I needed to, and it's not so much it came around. It's like in a lot of hundreds where you get to that point where it doesn't get any worse, and you realise you can still keep moving at a decent pace, and so you do. It doesn't feel nice, but you can keep moving well at least.
So that's like mile 2 for you, Clark.
Well, no, I mean, like I was saying earlier, that was pretty much mile 30 for me at Vermont, but you just keep grinding away and get it done, you know.
I don't mind grinding the last 30. It's when you grind the last 70. That's a long way.
Well, mile 40 at Leadville, you know, it gets tough over top of Hope, especially coming out from sea level.
Yeah, well, I've been doing some hiking high up. I went over Handies at 14,000 and felt pretty good actually at that kind of altitude. But then I feel worse when I come down and do a jog at 9,000 or 10,000, so it doesn't necessarily make sense. Yeah. Well, running downhill at that altitude definitely feels fine. But the uphill is definitely more of a challenge.
So speaking of uphill, neither of you guys are using the poles?
No.
I'm toying with the idea.
Whoa. Nick Clark and Wizard Sticks?
With wizard sticks. Yeah, a little bit of wizardry. So my pace is going to carry them out of Winfield, and I'll give them a go. I haven't really used them that much in training, so you know, I'll give them a go going up the steep side of Hope, and if they feel good, I'll keep using them. If they're not, then you know, it's muling allowed, so I can just dish them off to Scott. who's going to be pacing me over Hope.
Who is pacing you? Who's Scott?
Oh, he's a friend from Fort Collins, Scott Slusher. He paced me last year over Hope. We had a great time. So he did 10 miles last year. He did such a great job that I upgraded him to 20 miles this year.
And Sharman, who you got in your corner?
I've got Sean Meissner, who did the beer mile very well yesterday.
It's looking promising.
Hopefully he'll have a day to recover from that, so we'll be okay there. And Meredith Tonover. So she and her husband paced me at Rock and Lagoon and at one of my Western States as well. So
Gotcha.
very experienced places.
We got a cheap avoiding the camera here for a second. Thank you, sir. So I asked this question to a bunch of the people this week. Sort of a mixed course. You got road run, like paved running. You got dirt road, single track, real steep downhill. What kind of shoes you guys suiting up with on Saturday?
Well, I'm going with the N2s, the Palazumi N2s. Trail N2s, yeah. It's just a super cushy shoe. It's a perfect 100-mile shoe. It does well on the roads. So, I mean, it's not a hybrid shoe, but it kind of feels like it just the way it runs on the roads. So, and then I might actually switch out to the M2s just to get a little bit of extra medial support at Twin Lakes mile 60 as my form kind of starts breaking down a little bit.
Yeah, and you?
I love the Scott Kinabalu T2, same as I've had the other two races. They feel really good. You can kind of run over anything and they're nice and light and flexible. So I know this isn't a particularly technical course, but it's just long. And I like having a little bit of cushioning in there and a good grip as well.
N2, the M2, and the T2.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Race 3.
Race 3.
All right. Thank you guys. Good luck out there. Have fun.
Thanks, Brian.
We'll try to.
And one quick bonus question for you guys. Tea or coffee? It's early this morning.
Neither.
Coffee.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you guys.
I like that. Got a bit of banter in there.
Oh.